As always, it's lovely to be with you today. Thank you for inviting us. And we look forward to the lunch. They're always very nice here. We brought something with us from Nepal. This is called lopsi. It's a dried, it's a fruit that grows in Nepal, but this is a dried version of it. So do have a taste. We always take a packet of this when we travel. It's really nice just to keep your mouth fresh while you're traveling, but do have a taste of that over lunch. I wonder if anybody can remember how we greet one another in Nepal. I see you have actually got it up over there. So how do we greet people in church in Nepal? Can anybody remember? Apart from the two people at the back. Does anybody remember how we greet in church? Like the normal greeting in Nepal is namaste, but we say jai masi. Jai masi. And it means victory to the Messiah. So we love it when you're going to church on a Saturday, actually, in Nepal. And many congregations, Nepali congregations, will have met in the UK yesterday as well. So some meet together on a Sunday afternoon, some meet on a Saturday. And as they arrive, they're all saying, Jai Masi, victory to the Messiah. So it's good to praise God and just encourage one another that our Messiah has the victory. So this morning, I'll start. Alan's going to come up in a few minutes. But for those of you that don't know me, my name's Megan. I'm an occupational therapist. And is this on this way? Oh, yes. So, we've been living in Nepal for 26 years. We're not going to tell you about 26 years worth of work this morning, just what we've been up to in the last year. So some of you will remember that many years ago, I sent a lady called Rebecca to India to do her training. We can't do training in Nepal for occupational therapists because there's only 5 of us. And we need to be able to do clinical practice. So some years ago, I sent Rebecca. She's there with me in a cafe. She worked in a hospital in Tansen, Palpa district of Nepal, for many years, and she's now working in Kathmandu, and I still have the privilege of supporting her in her work. And then the other lady there, Dorothy, she's got a little 1-year-old now. She got married a couple of years ago. She actually is living and working in Tansen in Palpa Hospital. Some years ago, I set up with a friend an association of occupational therapists in Nepal. So I try and meet with them all regularly and encourage them because there are so few of them. But in Nepal is a Hindu nation. On the books, it's a secular republic, but it's still very much in practice a Hindu nation. And the basis of Hinduism is very very much the gods will it. It's as the gods will be. So it's very fatalistic. You are how you are because that's how the gods have willed it, and there's not a lot you can do about it. And it's actually mostly quite negative. You know, if you don't keep the gods happy, they will punish you. It's more about avoiding punishment than gaining blessing. Isn't it great that our God is the opposite? We can please our God. I always find that amazing, that our great big God looks down on us and is pleased. And he watches us. Well, mostly is pleased. I'm sure there are moments when he's not so pleased, but that he sees us. And just to image one day, I don't know, this might be for someone today, because this image popped into my head. One day somebody spoke about, it's like, in Alan's wallet, there's a picture of our 3 children, and it's like God's got a picture, and my phone has it as the page. It's like God's got a picture of every one of us in his wallet, big wallet, because he loves us, because we're his precious children, and he's proud of us. Isn't that amazing? No? Oh, okay. I think it's amazing. But because the basis of the nation is fatalistic and you are how you are, it's been very difficult for me to try and raise occupational therapy as a profession, because the basis of occupational therapy is You are how you are, but in rehabilitation, we can change that. Together, we can make it different. Together, we can bring you better quality of life. Together, we can make things work much better for you. And as well as supporting individual OTs in what they do in their work, I've also been involved. And thank you. I see there was a bit of our newsletter in your latest newsletter. And I've been able to work with Johnny and Friends. Some of you will remember I've talked about Johnny Erickson Tada. At the age of roughly 16, 60 years ago, she dived into the ocean and broke her neck. She's been paralyzed from the neck down ever since. She's now 76 years old. And she was taught by an occupational therapist that life could still go on and that she could have fullness of life. She's a Christian. She believes that God has a purpose for her life and that God spoke into her while she was in hospital recovering from that accident. The occupational therapist taught her to paint with her mouth. And from the money that she made from those paintings, she set up the Johnny Erickson Tada Foundation. And her husband have done a lot of work. And two of the things that they do are family retreats and wheelchair camps, which I've been very privileged to be a part of in Nepal. The family retreats also is mentioned in your newsletter. It's a special time when we can take a family or families, a group of families who have at least one disabled member to a nice hotel and treat them and make them feel special. Again, in Nepal, in Hinduism, if you're disabled, you are disabled because the gods have willed it. And why have they willed it? It's because of your sin, your fault. The reason you're disabled is your fault, and therefore your neighbors, they don't really want to associate with you. It's almost like it's catching, that you are condemned by the gods. You are a rejected person if you're disabled. I've had people in tears. No, my neighbors won't help me. They don't want to come near my house because it's my fault. The gods have inflicted me with this or inflicted my child with this because of our sin. And so we take these families away. We say, don't hide your children. They are wonderfully and fearfully made in God's image and are loved by God and are special to God, just as you, the parents, are. And we live in a fallen world. These things happen, but it's not your fault. And so in beginning of this year, we took families away and we were focused. We have a different focus. And the one earlier this year was focusing on families with children with cerebral palsy. And the hotel that we were staying in, the conference room that we were using to play and to have fun and to just continue to give them the message that they are wonderfully and fearfully made and loved by God, it had mirrors down the side. And at the end, one lady got up and she said, "Thank you so much for inviting me to this special time. 6 months ago, when my husband left me because of this disabled child, I got rid of all the mirrors in my house, or the mirror in my house." She said, "I am going home. I am going to buy a mirror. I am going to look at myself in that mirror and say, you are beautiful. You are made in God's image. You are loved because of what you've taught me over these last few days." And it's so wonderful to be able to play with these children, to show that these children are special and loved, as are they. I've also spoken before about wheelchair camps where we invite people that are known in the community, even though some of them are hidden away. We get to know people, we go to a community, we take wheelchairs, we meet with the people who need the wheelchairs, we converse with them, we ask them about their lives, we measure them properly, we give them wheelchairs that are fit for purpose. We take engineers so that the wheelchair is adapted there and then. They leave the wheelchair camp with a wheelchair that has been adapted to their special needs. And they leave the wheelchair camp again knowing that they are wonderfully and fearfully made in God's image and loved by him, and don't need to hide. They can be visible because they are special, and they can be proud of who they are. I've also been working in some hospitals. Alan will talk a bit more about the organisation that we're currently seconded to. So one of the hospitals with this organisation is in a place called Chowjahari. fun journey. So I get a one, oh, sorry, yeah. I get a 1 hour flight, and then I get in a Jeep and I drive on some interesting roads, swinging this way and that. You will know. And bumping up and down for about 6 hours on a bad day. If I fly to Circuit, it's only 4 hours, and actually those roads to Chowdhury these days are a little better. But it's a fun journey for someone who's 65 years old. But when I get there, I have the privilege of working with a young lady who is training to do the exercise, post-surgery exercises. She's not actually a therapist, but I'm training her to be able to make sure that people who have had surgery from the orthopedic surgeon there, it's a mission hospital, again, they are told that they are loved by God and they get to hear God's word, but also they get good medicine, good surgery, and now they're getting good post-surgery treatment from this lady called Elizabeth, whose picture has been in a previous newsletter. Please pray for her. She has a very difficult life. She's been married 2 years. She has a 1-year-old baby. Total, she's probably spent about 2 months with her husband because he lives in Kathmandu. Then I also still go and visit Circuit, where we lived and worked for about 9 years. And our friend comes from that area. Circuit is beautiful. I love Circuit. It's a lovely place. It's very calm and peaceful. It's just getting there and back was always a challenge. When we lived in Circuit, the planes were few and far between. It was a minimum 18 hours in a bus to get from Circuit to Kathmandu, and Kathmandu is the only place you can leave Nepal from at the moment, so it was a fun journey. But anyway, I get the privilege of going back to Circuit, where I set up a rehabilitation department, and they still have occupational therapy there and physiotherapy. And these two ladies, as with many people, and again, for some of you, you will know I've said before, people go to cut fodder for their animals from the trees. They fall out of trees. They fracture their spines. These two ladies had done that and had been coming for rehab, were staying there to get rehabilitation. And particularly the one on the left there is a big smile, because this day was the first day since she fell, which had been a few months, that she could stand up and walk on the spot. Using a frame, but she was very happy, and they have good potential to do well. But wherever we are and whatever we're doing, it's easy to get discouraged. You know, I stand here and I say these things, and actually home assignment is quite an encouraging time for us to remember what God's been doing in and through us, and people like this. But occasionally it's like, oh, it's just, I'm so tired, and what's the point? And I never know really what's the long-term effect of anything that I do. And just before we left Nepal this time to come to the UK, I got a phone call from this lady, and she said, do you remember me? And she told me the name of her husband, and I said, yes, of course I remember you. She said, you helped us. These people live up in the hills outside Circuit. I visited them in their home. He was building a nice new house for the family. They were doing quite nicely, fell off the roof, broke his neck. But actually, we managed to get him well rehabilitated so he could walk with a frame. They have since gone on to do quite well. One daughter, all the children have been educated, which they thought they would never be able to afford to send them to school. And one of the daughters is married and living in Kathmandu. The other daughter is currently studying in Japan. And the little boy, whose name is Madan, was 3 at the time that I met him. Oh, so cute, so cute. So while I was doing rehab for his father, I used to play with him from time to time. And the mom said, Madan would love to meet you. His Tuli Amma. Now, Tuli Amma, direct translation is Big Mummy, but it also means like the older mother. Many people still will have more than one wife. So the older wife is the Tuli Amma, the younger wife is the Sani Amma. So I didn't know this little boy, since 16 years ago, has thought of me as his Tuli Ama, and he wants to see his Tuli Ama. He's now 19 years old. He's got a bachelor's degree, and I'm going to meet him when I get back. But it was just so lovely to be encouraged that what he got from Circuit Clinic has made such an impact on his life. Now I'm going to hand over to Helen.
So as Megan has said, we work for BMS, and BMS seconds us to a Nepali organisation. It has, over the years, we've worked for different organisations in Nepal, but now we're based back in Kathmandu in an organisation called HDCS, which stands for Human Development and Community Services. And HDCS runs 3 hospitals, and it has some community development work in remote areas. Megan's mentioned one of the hospitals, the Chowjahari Hospital in Rukam district. And my role within that is to support a small team of people that design projects and seek funding for new projects. HDCS is a Christian organisation. It's registered as a Christian NGO. And we seek to share God's love through our projects and through the hospitals. And I'd like to tell you just one of the, introduce you to 2 of the people that I work with, Deepak and Asta. There we are in our little office in the corner of our office. And I'd like to particularly tell you about Deepak, who we first met many years ago when we were learning language, because he was a language teacher, a good language teacher. And then we moved to Circuit, and then a couple of years later he applied and got a job with INF in the same type team that I was working in at the time. So he was fresh into that type of development work, so I was helping to teach him, show him some of the ropes, as it were, as to how to design projects, how to write reports and things like that. And then he moved back to Pokhara, and then a few years later, we also moved to Pokhara, and I ended up working with Deepak again. And then we left and moved back to Kathmandu and joined HDCS. And then a couple of years ago, maybe 18 months ago, Deepak applied for a job in HDCS and got it. And so we've ended up working together again, which is great. And the reason I'm telling this story is that we don't just want to do the work while we're in Nepal. Megan has worked alongside rehab people, occupational therapists, physiotherapists, so that they become able to do the work. And Deepak is also an example of this, because now he is he's more senior in the organisation. I'm just an advisor, and he is the main person that contacts all the foreign donors. He writes all the reports. He's responsible for all that. And so it's great to be able to see him develop as a person and as a Christian, serving in his role in that organisation, and he's very confident in what he does now. Just as an example, a few weeks ago, we were working on a big report and a big proposal together to go off to one of the big funding agencies. And I was sort of like sitting there, maybe twiddling my thumbs a little bit. I said, "Anything to do? Can I help you at all?" And he said, No, I've got it all covered," which is great to be able to think that he is now fully responsible in those areas. And one of the other things that we do, as well as supporting and working based in HDCS and the work that Megan's already described, we also have the privilege of working with other organisations around Asia, BMS partners. And so in the last year, as we're reporting to you, in the last year, we've also been able to visit Bangladesh and visit some of the BMS partners there, the Bangladesh Baptist Church Sangha, as it's called, and work with some of the people there, encouraging them and doing some practical things like developing strategy, thinking about mission and vision and things like that. So that was a real privilege to be able to go and visit them and see what's going on there. And then we also had the opportunity to go to northeast India and a state called Nagaland, and also do some seminars and encourage some of the people that are working there. Megan did some talks on like disability inclusion. I was talking a bit more about disaster relief and disaster risk reduction, shall I say, and how the church can be involved in those sort of areas. So we also, I'll move that one on, time's against us. We often get asked what people can pray for. So just a few prayer points up there. We're traveling around the UK, so just for safety in travel and energy and enthusiasm as we keep talking and have that energy to keep going. There's a new government in Nepal just recently. Back in September, there were some very violent riots and the government was overthrown. The new government was elected in March, and so far it seems fairly positive. So we would ask for prayers for the new government as it seeks to establish itself and to try and develop a country without the corruption. Please pray for all those people that we've mentioned above. We don't expect you to remember any of the names, but just as you're praying for people that we're connected with. And BMS is going through a time of change and different strategy and transition. So please pray for BMS as an organisation as well. But we do thank you for all your support and your prayers over this last year. We can't do this without you. And it's not like we're doing our thing over in Nepal and you do your thing here. We're working together, aren't we, for the Lord? And so we appreciate all your support and your prayers, but we also remember you and the work, the mission that you're involved in here as well. There we are. For further details, you can go on the BMS website and check out our small page on there. So thank you for this time.